us. Don't forget the angels. When you run from your demons, they will come for you. But if you make peace with the devil, you see that he is an angel too.
Good morning. How are you? Yay! I love to see all your beautiful faces. Just want to look at all of you. Yay! Gina stuck her tongue out at me. I know. So welcome to today. We're learning about using it, and because we're studying 100 Years of Science of Mind. Science of Mind is the book that basically we utilize as a method to get to the life of our dreams. So we do this thing called Science of Mind, and really it's a science of the universe. So mind is another synonym for the universe, or the way the world works. And it is through a science. We call it sometimes a mental science or a spiritual science. It's a process where we have a combination of our beliefs and our energy, I want to say, behind our beliefs. And whatever we think and believe creates our reality. And it's really amazing. You can have two people who see a car accident, and you're gonna get two completely different stories about what actually happened. And that's because each and every one of us have our own filters. Our filters come from our history, come from, me as a woman. I'm gonna have things filtered through different ways because people treat me differently because I'm a woman. People treat me differently because I'm a lesbian, and so I'm going to have a different filter. And people treat me differently because I'm medium height. But somebody may be treated differently because they're tall height or short height. Each one of us have these different layers of who we are and how we perceive the universe. Because somebody who maybe is a little person, they're walking through life, may see things that we're just completely oblivious about. And we may be completely oblivious about how difficult different challenges are. Let's say to, get up to a regular height sink, or get up to regular height, right? Regular, that's kind of a prejudiced term, right? So each and every one of us have these different points of view, and it's creating our life. It's creating our future. And it created our past. So whatever I had in my experience from my past is a foundation for my future. Now, we teach these classes called Foundations and Beyond Limits because what I want to do is recreate the foundation. Although I had a really great growing up, I want you all to know that I had a really great growing up time. I did not know that my thoughts and my intentions could create my reality. And once I started learning that the way I intend for my future to be will actually cause it to come into being, I started intending what I wanted. And it's really easy for me to say that, but it's a lot harder to do because our practices in life kind of teach us to look at what is the negative, or regurgitating what happened to people instead of looking forward at what we'd like to create with our words and actions. Ernest Holmes said, "Our movement will not depend on talk, as I'm giving you now. Our evolution, what it will mean in the world, will not depend on the books we write. It will depend on what we do with it." So that's why I'm telling you, using the science of mind is really, really important. You can read some books and you can read all the best knowledge in the world, but unless you actually put it in your daily life as an application, nothing will change. If you want your world to change, now, some people may say, well, my world is just fine. And I have to say, my relationship is amazing. I love my relationship. Can it be more amazing? Yes. My house? Pretty good. Can it be even better? Yes. My relationships? Awesome. Could they improve? Yes. How many people here feel like every aspect of their life is perfect and they would never want any improvement ever again? So if you did not raise your hand, then I want to invite you to consider the possibility that you can utilize and dream up a new opportunity for living in your life. There's a story about a woman. Her name is Betsy. And I got this off of selfdefinedleadership.com, by the way. She was an office manager in an engineering firm. And every time something would break, whether it was a toilet or a fax machine, everybody would call Betsy. Betsy, the blank blank is broken. Betsy, this is broken. Betsy, this is broken. And so she would rush and come to the rescue, and she would fix the thing, and then she would leave. And one day, her friend asked her, why does everybody depend on you to fix things when every single person in this department has an engineering degree? They know how to fix things. And without hesitation, she responded, that's how I was raised. She said 1 out of 4 children, she was the key holder, the child who had the key. It was an honor, but it was also a responsibility. So she was considered the wisest and the most accountable of the children. And she had the possession of the keys, and she was charged with making sure everybody was safe and making sure everything was in its rightful place. And yet, we wonder why often we end up in the same roles in our outer life as we were when we were growing up. So it's not really a mystery. Typically, it's because we're comfortable in default roles. If you were in an unhealthy relationship, for instance, if you had parents who were not necessarily the best models, you might find yourself in the similar relationship unless you learn to change things. But Betsy didn't learn to change things. You know, Alice Walker says, look closely at the present you are constructing. It should look like the future you are dreaming. So if there's any area of your life where you recognize there are some behaviors and roles and ways of being that are habitual and maybe were inherited, that means you need to construct a new possibility and a new future for yourself. And some of the ways we can do that, we teach in this teaching, we teach this tool we call Affirmative Prayer, but it's also known as spiritual mind treatment. And that's because back in the day when Ernest Holmes, he didn't invent it, but I want to say he intuited a way that we could utilize the universe for our good. Whenever he was using it, people only thought that doctors had the answer. People did not realize that our mind has any control over our bodies or our experiences or our life. And so when he said spiritual mind treatment, it was like we're utilizing our mind to create a healing within ourselves in order to live a better life. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to do with health. It can do with anything. But we call it affirmative prayer because it's much more in alignment with what we're doing. A lot of people do prayer like beseeching prayer, like, oh, God, give me this. Oh, can you do this for me? Oh, whatever. And that's kind of the traditional taught prayer, right? I was Methodist. I was taught in that. But what we do is we teach affirmative prayer, where we recognize and know that if spirit or the universe or God or love is everywhere present, everywhere, right? That's the meaning of infinite, everywhere present, right? Then it must be within me. And if this infinite spirit is within me, then I just need to tap into it. I just need to open to it and realize that that same aspect of the universe of God is in me. And so as I do that, as I open to that realization, then I use my affirmations to declare whatever I choose to want in the world. And instead of using the words what I choose to want in the world, I declare it as if it's already happened. So let me break it down really easy for you. It's kind of like the analogy of shopping. Any shoppers in here? Me? I am. So first, we would identify the store. I'm going to give you the 5 steps of prayer, of affirmative prayer. First, you recognize the store, right? And that's recognition. Now, we know that the universe is infinite, so it's like the infinite warehouse is your store, right? And then you connect online and you go into the store, and that's unification. And then you put in your order being specific, and that's realization or affirmation. And then once you accept your purchase, you say thank you, and that's gratitude and acceptance. And lastly, you disconnect from the website, you leave the store, you have what you want, and you're good, right? And that's what our affirmative prayer is about. We just connect to the infinite universe, we accept what is already ours to accept, and then we release the prayer, and we just continue on with our lives. And sometimes the way the time-space continuum works, it may come instantaneously, like it may happen that moment, or it may take a little while to be processed in the universe. You know, it's like some days you have Amazon Prime and it works in 2 days, and some days you get the regular order of Amazon, right? But you trust that it's coming. You trust that you already have it, that it's already yours. And that's how we utilize our affirmative prayer, is we trust in the nature of the universe. So many people trust in, the Postal Service and Amazon more than they trust in the universal everything of God. So why don't we start practicing trusting in the universe? There's another story I've told before, but I love this story. It's a pot roast story. There's a woman who's preparing a pot roast while her friend looks on, and she cuts off both ends of the pot roast. She prepares it, and she puts it in the pan. And her friend says, well, why did you cut off the ends of the pot roast? And her friend says, well, that's the way my mom taught me. So the friend gets curious, and she goes to her mother, and she says, Mom, how do you prepare a pot roast? And she says, well, you just cut the ends off, and then you season it, and then you put it in, you roast it, and there you go. And she says, Mom, why do you cut the ends off? And the mom says, well, that's the way my mom always taught me how to do it. And so the mother gets curious, and she goes to her mother in the nursing home, and she says, Mom, how do you cook a pot roast? And the mom says, well, you cut the ends off, and then you season it, and you put it in the pot, and you roast it, and it's done. And she says, Mom, why do you cut off the ends? And the mom looks back, and with a little sparkle in her eye, she says, oh, yeah, well, our pot wasn't big enough, so we always cut the ends off so it fit. And you can see that's kind of how we inherit things. Sometimes we just take things for a given because that's the way our parents did it, and it made sense, and it worked. It worked, right? It worked for them. But maybe we're not getting the whole story, or maybe we're not activating the whole possibility in our lives. I mean, have you ever asked, why do we do it this way? Why do I do this? Do I need to update my repertoire? How might I do this differently? Maybe there's more effective way. What if I'm not bound to the way that we've always done it? A lot of people say, well, why do we do it this way? Well, that's the way we've always done it. And it's interesting because that question is threatening to people. It's threatening to people. I don't know if you've been in a work or business situation, you've been the questioner, why are we doing it this way? Well, that's the way that works. Well, is there another way that works? I don't know. You're rocking the boat here, you crazy person. But start questioning, why do I do it this way? Why do I put my socks on first and then my shoes, and not one sock and then What if you change things up? Yeah, it's good. I was watching a TED Talk, and this TED Talk invited you to do something new and different every day. Just one new and different thing. Whether you try out a new food, you cook a new recipe, maybe you take a different route home that you've never taken before. Just try something new every day, and it will shift. Do it for 30 days, and it will shift what's going on in your life. So this thing itself is the way that the universe works. And the universe works by us declaring and opening and using our words as tools to create the world that we want. We can use our life as a living lab. Everything in life is an opportunity to become aware of how we are using our words and our intentions in life. Ernest Holmes said, "It's necessary in our movements that we have as many people as possible who will work with us and for us, knowing that what they do, why they do it, and how they do it, and then doing it." So I want to encourage you to create a world that works for everyone. Now, our president this week said some words that were not very kind. He said some words that were not very kind. And Dr. Petra said this thing, which I really love. She said, "As a child, I was bullied and called names." She said, "My mother tried to give me strength by teaching me the old adage, sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me." She said, "It was useful for me to hang on to them, and it still comes in handy now. But the only problem is that it's not true." The words we use have a fundamental impact on ourselves and others. First, our words demonstrate what we truly believe. Second, our words literally shape our experience. As the narrative we tell becomes the filter through which we see the world. And finally, in some fundamental way, our words shape the very fabric of life itself, by providing the mental equivalent in consciousness for the universal laws to use to shape reality. So now we come to it. The words that a person used in power is vulgar and racist and demeaning and not demonstrating of what I want to have in the world, personally. But we believe in Centers for Spiritual Living. We believe in a global vision. And the more I state this global vision, the more it comes into reality. We envision a world in which we live and grow as one global spiritual family that respects and honors the interconnectedness of all life. A world where this kinship through all life prospers and connects through the guidance of spiritual wisdom and experience. We envision a world where personal responsibility joins with social conscience in every area of the political, corporate, academic, and social sectors, providing sustainable structures to further this emergence of the global consciousness. This is our global heart vision. This is what Centers for Spiritual Living. This is our founding document. This is our Declaration of Independence. For the organization. We envision a world where each person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement, and justice. So, words do have power. The words that I say are impacting you right now. As much as I tell you I love you, and I do love you, each and every person here will hear that. And maybe you're watching online, and I say, I love you, online. It's felt. It's felt. And when I say things that harm others, it's felt. Because we're all interconnected. Yehuda Berg said, "Words are singularly the most powerful force available to humanity. We can choose to use this force constructively with words of encouragement or destructively using words of despair." Words have the energy and the power and the ability to help, to heal, to hinder, to hurt, to harm, to humiliate, and to humble. So while we believe in this truth, I'm going to start standing in the idea that I'm going to love my neighbor as thyself. And I know that while the president of the country has stated something that I do not agree with, I can state that this is not the world that us as spiritual beings are building together. This is not the world that we want for our children, as having a leader that demonstrates hateful and harmful things. And if I were doing that, I would want you to keep me accountable. And if I ever slip up, I want you to tell me. Because I want to be in integrity with what my words are. I want to live a life of integrity. And so I want to create actions that are in harmony with the world that I want to create. I do believe that what is happening on this planet right now is a big transition. And because all of the underground things that have been hiding or lurking is now coming to the surface, it's really hard. And I'm just noticing a lot of people are getting sick right now because I think that people are sick of it. And I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's a healing thing. I think that what really needs to happen is for us to clear out all of those things, those challenges, those negative things that are harming and hurting. And maybe each one of us is a vessel of that clarity to come into being. Maybe we're here to be that clarifying factor. And so if you want to be an instrument of that peace, I encourage you to start using your words for good. To step into the places where people are harming others. You might notice it online. You might notice it in the store. You might notice it in yourself. Cursing at that person who cut you off. Doing that thing that stupid people do. But let's keep ourselves accountable. Let's start being in alignment with our words and our actions and speaking of a new idea of possibility. Whenever you see somebody do something in injustice, you could say, that's not my world. That is not my world. My world is a world of peace, and so I'm going to step in and I'm going to declare a world of peace. I'm going to talk about a world of peace. I'm going to create this vision of peace as it emerges today through each and every one of us. And I'm going to create it through my intentions, through my actions, through my words, and through my dreams. Because I'm using that principle. Just remember that everything here that is right now is an effect of all past thoughts. And so if we want to create a new future, we're creating that in this now moment. So what kind of words are you going to use? What kind of future are you going to declare? What kind of way of being are you going to step into? Who do you want to be in this world? And when you think about that, think about what would somebody like that be like? Who's my hero? What would my hero do? What would Oprah do? What would Martin Luther King Jr. do? You see, he was a minister, and he used the power of his word to change the world. And the effects are still here today because of what he did. Now imagine if your words were that powerful. And I know they are. So what are you going to say this week? Let's speak our truth together. Powerfully, potently, clearly, and with integrity. And so it is. Namaste. Let's pray. I'm so grateful to be here and to be amongst the spiritual luminaries of the world. I recognize and know that each person showed up here today to be on point, inspired, and alive with that luminescence of spirit. I recognize and know that the all-powerful great creator of the universe that created worlds and galaxies, that same power is within me and within each and every person here. And so I declare that there is an uprising of love and light in the world, that we are the light workers as we step forth into this planet, we step forth into this world in creating a world that works for everyone. I declare that this world that works for everyone is a new idea of possibility, and that it's easy and effortless for each and every one of us to speak the idea of truth and justice and love for everybody. I know and claim that where I see hurt and sorrow, that I am a being of upliftment, of empowerment. I declare that when I am hurting, that I ask for help. Because I know and claim that this world is interconnected and that we are here to uplift and empower each other in this global uprising of consciousness. And I know and claim that this consciousness resides in me, powerfully, potently. I'm grateful to know that something has shifted in me today, that I open to this love, that I open to this new way of seeing and feeling and hearing and speaking in a way that is inclusive and open. I am humble to see and feel the beauty that is around me. I know that the diversity that I see and feel continues to evolve me into that greatest example of possibility. And so as I step into that truth, I surrender into this sense of peace, knowing that all is well, knowing that all the sickness is healed, that all of the harmful hurting is revealed to be only calls for love. And so I open to that possibility of love. I surrender into it and I allow it to work through me in my everyday life. I know it is indeed good. And so I release this prayer knowing it's already done, knowing that God's got it, that the universe knows how to work through me in a way that is absolutely catapulting me to the next phase of leadership, of light, of possibility. And so I surrender into that truth, letting it go and letting it be, knowing it's already done, and so it is.